The James G. King Alpaca Industry Recognition Award. This award, created in 2012, was named in honor of Jim King, a longtime member and board member of both the Alpaca Owners and Breeders Association and Alpaca Registry, Inc., who passed away unexpectedly on April the 5th, 2012. I will say while he was a current board member. Each year when this award is given, the story of Jim's life and his dedication to the alpaca industry is told. Jim was born August 5th, 1935 in San Francisco. He graduated from Phillips Exeter Academy, Yale University, and Harvard Business School. At Yale, he was an All-American lacrosse player, and he later played for many seasons at the Boston Lacrosse Club. Jim and his family lived in Wellesley, Massachusetts, before moving to New London in 1992. He spent most of his career in the Boston area as a financial analyst and portfolio manager, working many years at David L. Babson Company. Later, Jim worked at New London Trust and Charter Trust. In 1992, he and his wife Sue established Skyview Alpacas. Working the farm allowed him to explore one of his passions, a love of animals. He spent a great deal of time helping to grow the fledgling alpaca industry. He was involved in regional and national alpaca organizations, serving on the board of directors of both the Alpaca Owners and Breeders Association and the Alpaca Registry, Inc. In retirement, Jim was able to embrace new activities as well as become more active in many areas. His love of singing led to his join in the North Country Chordsmen, a barbershop chorus. His love of sports began when he played soccer and lacrosse in prep school and college and coached his sons through many years of soccer, and was rekindled with tennis, paddle tennis, and sailing. Jim was an active member of Rotary, the Boys Club, and Lake Sunapee Yacht Club. He was also a longtime camper at AMC's 3 Mile Island Camp at Lake Winnipesaukee. At the time of his passing, Jim was serving the alpaca industry as treasurer of the Alpaca Industry, Inc. He was a strong advocate for the alpaca industry and its members, with the goal of having every organization he was involved with maintain the highest level of professionalism and service while continuing to invest in the future of the industry. The James G. King Industry Recognition Award is awarded jointly by AOA to a person or persons who have given themselves exceptionally and consistently toward the betterment of the alpaca industry. And I'd like for Scott Miller to come join me, please. He's going to help me award tonight's award. This year's recipient of the James G. King Alpaca Industry is Dr. Jeri Booher. Jeri was born and raised on a sugar plantation in a small rural town in Hawaii. After studying fashion design for the first 2 years of college, and you can tell by the way she dresses that she's into fashion, her love of all creatures great and small caused a switch of college majors, which eventually led to a Bachelor of Science degree in Animal Sciences from the University of Hawaii. She was halfway through a master's degree program when she was accepted into the veterinary medicine program at Washington State University. She graduated cum laude with her DVM degree in 1980, then spent the next 2 years in postdoctoral study of infectious diseases at WSU. The next 16 years were spent in small animal practice, first as an employee, then as an owner. The transition to alpaca rancher and alpaca medicine began in 1992 when Timberland Alpacas and Timberland Vet Services was created, a mere 3 weeks after her first introduction to alpacas. Working from home with her alpacas along with her mobile vet practice while raising her 2 young children versus what had been a typical 70-hour clinic work week with long daily commutes was idyllic. Over the years, Jeri has served on various committees with the alpaca community, including the AOBA Health and Research Committee, the Alpaca Research Foundation, the AOBA Also Show Committee, the AOBA Show Committee, past president of the Columbia Alpaca Breeders Association, and is currently chair of the Show Rules Committee.
So Margie asked me to just say a few things because I've had the pleasure of knowing Jeri. We've been around a long time, and I've had the pleasure of knowing her, but also working with her. And a quick little story, this is kind of coincidental, but I believe it was 2013, I was serving on the AOBA Board of Directors. We were going through the merger process, or the beginnings of it, or maybe we were right in the middle of it. But anyways, we were in Denver, and I had the pleasure of awarding Jeri the Shining Star at that point in time. It had been approximately a decade that she had been the chair of the SRC, and the Shining Star was AOBA's highest award for volunteerism. And then when Jim died, and we eventually became, the 2 organizations became one, this now replaced it. So here we are, really another decade beyond that original award. And coincidentally, I think Jeri may be the only one in our organization's history that's ever won both the Shining Star and the James G. King Award. Her dedication has been exemplary. She defines the award and everything that Margie read, and her longevity. You know, it was interesting, at one point in the merger, there was a discussion about, once the merger had taken place, about whether or not we should, kind of mix up the committees and remove some of the chairs, and reset and refresh. But when it came to the SRC, it was a real no-brainer. Like, no, we don't want Jeri to go, because in this pretty head, there's a whole ton of history. And she can reflect back, and she can guide her committee and tell them, like, we've been down this road. This is something that we can just step away from and keep things moving along. And that's a really important thing, because we, as we have turnover, you can always be kind of trying to reinvent the wheel, and oftentimes that's not necessary. So thank you for your dedication and service to all of us. And you have received this award because you have earned it.
Thank you, Margie, board, Scott. So I'm a behind-the-scenes person, and I'm not good at giving these speeches. So I'll just make this brief. So back in the late 1990s, anybody who showed alpacas showed under the ALSA system, which was the Alpaca Llama Show Association. So it became very, very clear that this couldn't go on, that the alpacas needed their own show system, show division. And so it's been 25 years since AOBA formed the show division. So 25 years ago, the first show committee met in a conference room in Chicago and spent the weekend hammering out the basic format, the basic rules for the AOBA show division. And so we were pretty low tech back then. I remember working with an easel and a 16 by 20 sketch pad, you know, and felt pens. And I think there may have been only maybe 1 or 2 laptops in the room. There was no such thing as Google Meets or, you know, we were very, very basic. But we hammered it out over the weekend. And, you know, a lot of those basic rules still stand today. And in 2014, was it, that the AOBA show division became AOA show system. So over the years, we've really evolved, and we really depend on all show system members, exhibitors, judges, everybody to give us input into our system. You know, we're high tech now, but we still have always depended on exhibitor feedback. And in reflecting back, I remember kind of in the early years when there was a lot of change that needed to be done. One year I compiled 80 pages of suggestions from the field, which is what we called it back then. We would ask exhibitors every spring for their suggestions. We had 80 pages that we met again was it Nashville that we met? And so, but we still do this every year. Every spring, we take suggestions. Actually, we take suggestions from you all throughout the year. Margie keeps it and sends it over to me, and we put it in a little file because we know that we're going to be discussing it during the spring through the summer, where the SRC meets and we hammer out all of these things. Every suggestion, whether it's positive, negative, you know, we don't care. We just want the input. When we make changes, we want the input. We want to hear kind of the good, bad, and the ugly, because that kind of guides us to where we feel that we need to go next. So keep those coming. And I've heard from several of you this weekend, and I appreciate it. And so the committee is going to be meeting from the spring through the fall, through late summer, and we'll take all these suggestions, all these comments, and we'll work on the next handbook. After that, we send it to the board. We actually meet with the board, well, I meet with the board, Margie meets with the board, and they approve or make changes to what the SRC has recommended. And then Margie and I go through all of the final changes, and we edit. We spend a couple of months editing before we send the final to Dee, who then puts it into the show book for you. So there's a lot of work that goes into it, but you know, keep those suggestions coming. Thank you.